What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of KA Cards Baseball. Hopefully you all are doing well out there tonight. Tonight on the channel, we are going to talk about the auction that I have currently going on, the Vintage Fire Sales Sports Card Auction site on Facebook. If you haven't had a chance to check out that website, I'll toss a link down below so you guys can check out this auction as well as all the other auctions that are going on that site. It is really a good site to sell cards on because there aren't any seller fees and there aren't any extra fees at all. You just are buying and selling with other guys within the hobby. Before we get into these cards, I do want to let you know a few rules about the auction. They are 24-hour rules for the auction. So what that means is that the auction ends basically 24 hours after the last bid is received. When I do auction cards off on the site, I don't put any cards on there that are creased in any sort of way. They can be miscut or have some dinged up corners. But I don't like to sell cards or auction cards off that are creased in any way. So none of these cards are going to have any sort of creases on them at all. As far as payment goes, you always have to list the payment method on the vintage card site. And I do accept PayPal and Venmo. And finally, I do always start my auctions at a pretty low starting bid price. So I'll give you guys an idea as far as what the starting bid price is going to be for each one of these cards as we go through them. I think that is pretty much about it as far as the details of the auction. Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. So let's get into these cards. It's going to be kind of quick because there's only like 10 or 15 cards in here, or 15 cards in here about. So it'll go kind of quick. Most of these cards are going to be Hall of Famers. For example, here, Phil Esposito, when he was with the Bruins, a really nice card here. On Phil Esposito, you can see it is miscut right to left, probably 90-10. Top to bottom actually isn't bad. The back is in really nice shape. There aren't any creases on it. The corners are pretty sharp. And Phil Esposito was an awesome player during the 70s, probably one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league during the 70s. The starting bid on this card is going to be at $5. Lots of Boston Bruins, because the Bruins were actually pretty awesome and were pretty dominant during the period of the mid-70s between them and the Canadians. Wayne Cashman, but this is really a nice card too. The centering on this card is actually pretty decent, a little bit off right to left, or left to right, probably 80-20. Top to bottom actually isn't bad. There's a little bit of a ding here in the bottom left-hand corner. The other corners are actually in pretty decent shape, and the back of the card is in really nice shape. So the starting bid on this price is going to be at $3. Next up, we have John Buchek. He is also with the Boston Bruins at this time. He was an outstanding left wing. I believe he was on the line with Phil Esposito. You can see in 1973-74, he had a total of 31 goals and 44 assists for a total of 75 points. And I think that he is one guy that had more than 500 goals in his career, which is kind of a major milestone. He was an awesome player for the Bruins for quite some time. And I do have a starting bid price on this card of $3. Dennis Potvin, also an Islander. This is actually Dennis Potvin's rookie card. He was an excellent defenseman with the Islanders for quite some time. The centering on this card is actually pretty awesome for this being a rookie card. Pretty awesome card here of Dennis Potvin. I do have a starting bid price on this card of $8. Sil Apps with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Really nice card is Sil Apps. Don't know that much about him at all. I don't remember much about him, but I did look on eBay, and these cards actually go for a pretty decent price. He is a center. He had 24 goals and 61 assists for 85 points in 1973-74. So that is a pretty outstanding year, and we'll have a starting bid price on this card of $2. Lanny McDonald, an outstanding right wing for the Toronto Maple Leafs for quite some time. He was pretty dominant later on in his career. This is actually, I believe, his rookie card. You can see some wax stains on the back of this card, but he did go on to have quite a long career. Really nice card here of Lanny McDonald. So I do have a starting bid price on this card of $4. Don Cherry, the legendary Don Cherry. If you don't know anything about Don Cherry, he was the head coach of the Boston Bruins for quite some time. After that, he went on to have an outstanding broadcasting career with Hockey Night in Canada. He was quite known for his outlandish outfits later on in his broadcast career. He was a tough guy for sure, and this is actually kind of his rookie coaching card. This is actually the first card that he had as a coach. Marcel Dionne, probably best known for his time with the Los Angeles Kings after he left the Red Wings, but he was an outstanding goal scorer. In 1973-74, you can see he had 24 goals and 54 assists. This is actually pretty early in his career. I think he went on to have more than 500 goals. This card is actually pretty nicely centered left to right. Top to bottom is off probably 85-15 on the top to bottom, but still a pretty nice card of Marcel Dionne. We have a Boston Bruins team card with all of the best players on the Boston Bruins during the 70s, including Bobby Orr with 90 assists. That is absolutely crazy. I think one year, if you look down here, he had 102 assists in 70 and 71 and 80 assists in 1971 and 72. Bobby Orr was probably, still to this day, probably the best, I would say top 5 defensemen to ever play the game, still to this day. And then, of course, you do have Phil Esposito with 68 goals that year and 145 points. That is pretty incredible. So a pretty awesome team card here with 3 Hall of Famers on it. Pretty nice card there. Kenny Dryden, a long-time goalie with the Montreal Canadiens, the star goalie for the Montreal Canadiens during the 70s. A guy that I remember watch play quite a bit in the early 70s. This card is actually pretty bad on the centering, top to bottom, probably 98-2. Left to right actually isn't bad. I'd say 70-30, maybe 80-20. Nice shape on the back. Red Berenson, I tossed this in here because he was a longtime head coach for the Michigan Wolverines, and I do remember him as the coach for the Michigan Wolverines for quite some time. But he was also an outstanding player during the time that he played, so I thought I would just toss this card in there. This card is off-center a little bit, right to left. 80-20, top to bottom is probably 95-5, but still a decent card of Red Berenson. Reggie Leach with the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't think this is his rookie card. No, not even close to his rookie card. He was originally with Boston before moving over to the Philadelphia Flyers. Was definitely known as a tough guy with the Philadelphia Flyers. He was definitely one of the Broadway bullies, I think is what they called the Philadelphia Flyers during those years. And again, with the Philadelphia Flyers, you can see this team card with Bobby Clarke, goals, assists, and points, and David Schultz, who was a pretty hardcore player back in the day as well. Butch Goring, he went on to join the Islanders during their Stanley Cup run, and he was an outstanding player, probably best known with the Islanders, but his original team was the Los Angeles Kings. This card does have some wax stains on the back, unfortunately. I do have a starting bid price on this card of $5. So that's what we got, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little look at 1974 TOPPS hockey. A little bit unusual for me to do hockey. Definitely will admit that I don't know nearly as much about hockey as I do, let's say, baseball, but I did watch a lot of hockey when I was younger, and I do remember most of these players. Anyways, guys, thanks for checking out this video, as well as all the other content on the channel. Be safe out there, guys, and happy collecting. We'll be back to baseball again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.